iRacing released this week the GT4, brand new GT4 M4 BMW for iRacing, as well as a set of other changes. I'm going to give this car a little test drive at Zolder, which has also been redone with new scenery and updated to modern standards. Has received quite a nice facelift. And we'll test this car, this new GT4 car, that replaces the previous version, which can still be used in the service in a separate series, production car series. But for GT4 racing, this new BMW replaces it. We'll take it at Zolder for a few laps and give you my thoughts, which are fairly useless since I'm an extremely slow driver, as once again you will see in this video. Thank you, and see you on track. So after that horrifying video introduction, where my obvious talents in front of the camera were as evident as the ones behind the camera, here we are at this beautiful Zolder, which, as I mentioned in the intro, has been remade, not rescanned. The surface is the same, but trackside objects, spectators, scenery has been updated to more recent standards, including a lot of solar panels and a lot of windmills. And here I take the GT4 BMW, newly released this week. There's been a ton of very good videos out there showing the qualities and an analysis, proper analysis of this car. Mine obviously is not going to be quite that detailed. These are the first laps that I took with the car, and I immediately found it very, very nice. Let's say that I've always had a bit of a love and hate relationship with the GT4 class in iRacing. A little bit more about that later. But so these were my first laps in the BMW newly released. So you will see that I will go very, very slow in my earlier laps. Zolder was always a track that I always liked since I was a kid. I don't quite know why, because it's not exactly one of the most exciting tracks in the world. It's not a Suzuka or a Spa, but I've always liked it. Of course, it has some sad connotations in motorsport history. However, as a track, I always liked it. I like racing on it, and even as a kid, it was one of the tracks that I remember distinctly. As a kid, I watched this movie, Fantastic Voyage. I don't want to date myself, but I watched it 10 years after it was released, so that I'm not as okay. Enough said about age there, but I remember watching this Fantastic Voyage movie in which these characters got shrunk to tiny sizes and were injected into a body to do whatever investigation, and I thought we could be living in an alternative universe where you could be shrunk into a tiny presence on a circuit that was infinitesimally small. And well, now the reality is that you have that with simulators, and you're able to partake of Zolder. But aside from the craziness of Zolder, the other track that I remember thinking in those terms was Brands Hatch, but Zolder was a track that always had a fascination for me. And in terms of cars, it suits these cars very well. That it's not a track where a modern kind of Formula One or a super powerful single-seater would do very well. As here I'm holding a long train of cars behind me, because, well, they're going a little bit faster than I am. I'm still warming up the tires. I haven't driven this GT4 car, this BMW, around here ever. This is my first lap in anger, if you will, and it's not exactly anger. And I find it a little bit tail happy, and as I get kind of pushed around by some of the other cars, you will see on this long right-hander that sets up for the little slightly faster right-hander, followed by that longish straight before the famous chicane, where in 1977, under the rain, John Watson and Mario Andretti had their coming together on the first lap. This chicane right here, you will see that I get a little bit of indecent treatment from a Porsche behind me, and I get spun around without too much damage, fortunately, so no hefty bills to pay, and I will turn the car around and carry on my merry way after having been violated a bit by that Porsche. And the track, like I said, the surface of the track has not changed, has not been rescanned. It's just a graphical update, but it's very, very nice. It was one of the older tracks. I don't know if at least 10 years that Zolder was in iRacing, so it deserved this update. And as I'm here, left a little bit more alone in my BMW, I will begin to find a little bit more of a groove. I discovered that after having the tires warmed up, I was able to, let's say, discover what I kind of heard a little bit through the grapevine, that the car tends to shift up, in the sense that turns that you would think of taking in third gear, you're really better off taking in fourth gear with this car. I'm not exactly sure why, but once I got that feel, and I got the feel for the, let's say, braking points, of course, as always, I was able to pick up a little bit of speed. You will see throughout this video that my laps are still extremely slow. It's just with AI. It's week 13 in iRacing, so I think I'm going to join back on some live races next week. But as I gained some a little bit more confidence with the warmer tires, you will see that I do a little bit better, and I discover, for example, that the famous chicken, the John Watson Mario Andretti chicken, you can take much more aggressively than you would at Bocht. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. Which is a corner that has been butchered by that chicane post-Villeneuve tragedy. It's been butchered by that weird chicane that there's a lot of elbows hitting your chin left and right as you. It's a very strange chicane, very strange sequence of turns that has now come. And with the BMW, also this last chicane before the start-finish straight, it was only after a few laps that I discovered don't downshift to second gear. It's absolutely not necessary. And once I started gaining some confidence and doing it in third gear, I was doing a little bit better. At the end of the day, I didn't spend too much time practicing with this car, and for the simple reason that time was a little short, so I just wanted to capture enough to do this highly professional movie. But you will see that slowly I'm holding people up, and then slowly I'm not holding them up so much. But you see, for example, this corner, the car felt quite uneasy on the rear end, even with the warmer tires. And as I had a sip of coffee, and you see the chicane, I began to take more and more aggressively. And later, after I drove the BMW just for fun, I took out the McLaren 570 GT4, always here at Zolder, and it was a joy to drive. I would still highly recommend the BMW. It's a great car to get. Absolutely purchase it if you want to. But probably for my personal preference, I kind of enjoy more the Macca 570. It's a nimbler car. It also visually looks smaller than the BMW. The BMW looks bigger than most of the other, I would say all of the other GT4 cars in iRacing. And I don't know how to express this. It kind of feels also a little bit heavy, even though it's tail happy, and even though the steering didn't feel particularly heavier in it of itself. It's not like you were putting more muscle input, but it just somehow felt heavier, whilst the McLaren that like I said, I took afterwards for a few laps, felt like you could throw it around more. I felt more in tune with it than I did the BMW. By the way, the McLaren GT4 I hadn't driven in forever, and it's not, like I said, GT4s in general are not my favorite cars, and even though I have to say after these tests with the BMW and the McLaren GT4, I kind of liked it. I kind of enjoyed it. I have to say, it's kind of reminded me a bit of the old days of driving in GTR2, which just that nice sensation of driving a car that is fast, but at the same time, you have some control over it, right? And I think here I'm about to start what I think is a better lap. Slowly the times are coming down, but it like I said, I should have spent more time. But I think that if I do some races during the season, on season 4, if I do some races in GT4, I think I will choose the McLaren over the BMW. Tough call, because they're both enjoyable, but I feel like I can race a little bit more with a little bit more cayenne pepper in my style than if I take this BMW. Like, for example, this corner at Telemann Block on the exit, this corner right here after Telemann Block, this corner right here, it felt always like the rear end was going to come snapping out, whilst the McLaren was, once the tires warmed up, was smooth as silk through that corner. I just but anyways, so that was a few laps with the McLaren. As I enter the pits, thank you very much. Highly recommend it, and maybe I'll post a video as well of driving the McLaren just for fun at the newly renovated Zolder. Please do enjoy this car if you get the chance, and see you on track maybe.